All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second half. I reconvene this meeting at 1:03 p.m. Just got a note that Supervisor Presley will be able to be here closer to 2:30 rather than 3, which is great. Before we start back up with our presentations, really quickly, for executive branch OPS, we were able to fix the double reduction that was happening, and we were able to fix that. That did cause them to go back up to 1.1%. So we were able to take down, I believe it was the director position, about down a few cents, 25 cents, to make up for that. So is there a motion to amend budget line 121 to $154,392? All right. Now we will move back into our presentations, and we will start off with the A&SF Business Office. We'll start with the business office, and then once we finish, we'll go to the ticket center.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Fong No. I'm the budget analyst 3, and I'll be representing the business office as well as the ticket center. So we'll start off with the business office. Just go through a couple of things. Mission statement, who we are, the personnel, the services we provide. Then we'll get into the numbers, the budget request, and the non-recurring project request. So as you think, business office, yeah, we handle all financial related stuff. We look at over, reconcile, approve all expenses and revenue for all A&SF entities. We'll go to the next slide. We're a pretty small office compared to all the other A&SF departments. 5 travel procurement coordinators, 1 budget analyst 1 budget analyst 3, a budget manager, and then we have a budget director that gives us direction. The OPS employees, we only have 2 positions. We have a front desk position, and then we have a back desk position. This back desk position sends all the emails that they assist with the legislative allocations that they get, and they email all the students. And then one thing we wanted to let you know is that there are 2 human resource coordinators that A&SF funds. They're not part of the business office, but as you know, we have hundreds of student employees by A&SF, so you might have worked with these during your hiring process. So we just wanted to let you know that you do fund 2 positions for HR. Next slide. Okay, so who do we support? Well, pretty much everyone here. Anyone that has A&SF, they have their financials always go through us. So we work with both departments and agencies. So it's just a wide range. Student union, student legal, they're very different. So we have to work with all of them and learn their operations. Next slide. The services provided. So the main thing we do that takes up a lot of time is the legislative allocations. So, they do $500,000 in travel, $250,000 in promo items, event supplies, project items. So as you can see for CRTs, we have registration, travel, and lodging. And this can be as close as Orlando and as far as Australia. So we handle both travel within the state and international. FAOs, there's a wide range, event purchases, project purchases, and promotional items. So it can be simple as stuff as buying pizzas for a student organization to an engineering group that wants to build a car for the year. So there's hundreds of parts that we have to order for them. And then another thing we do is the scholarships. We collaborate with the Student Government Scholarship Committee and UCF Financial Aid. And last year we awarded $205,000 to students for scholarships. And then this is just kind of gives it kind of a breakdown so you can see the quantity of what the legislative does that we have to work with all these students. So as you can see, we're in the hundreds of different students. Okay, and then I will just get straight into the budget request. I'm actually asking for a little bit under 1%. Trying to be proactive, be efficient, and save money. So these will be the numbers for next year. One thing I want to mention is the IT assessment and the insurance. We pay that on behalf of all A&SF entities, so it's not necessarily a business office expenses for all of us. So it's a huge cost, $550,000 and $10,000. So just keep in mind that's not really just for us; it's actually for all of A&SF. And then the next one, the non-recurring request. Those of you that are familiar with the Federal Commons, MSC, Student Union, and RWC actually utilize space in there. I think RWC had touched on it about the facilities. That's a requirement that we need to do. So it's $170,000 for next year. And that would conclude my presentation for the business office. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for the A&SF Business Office? Hamid?
Motion to move to the next entity.
All right, there's been a motion to move to the next entity. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we will move on to the ticket center. All right, and you can begin whenever you're ready.
Okay, so again, I'll go with the ticket center. We can just go to the next slide. It's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, we'll just go over the mission, the personnel, the goods and services we offer, and then the budget request, and then any questions you may have. The mission statement, so we provide tickets to all active UCF students, staff, faculty, and alumni. Next slide. For the personnel, we have 2 people. We only have 2 windows, so there's only 2 people that work at one time. We offer specially priced tickets. There's 18 different tickets with attractions in 4 different cities. So that's 4 different tax rates we have to accommodate for Orlando. And then just for the quantity, we sold over 40,000 tickets. And keep in mind, these are all physical tickets. So these are all have to be hand counted and accounted for. I'll go back. Oh, yeah, we just wanted to mention, I wanted to mention 2 benefits that actually benefit the student government. One is for your Universal Nights event. We actually purchase and resell guest tickets for you. It's usually around 2,000 tickets a year. And then another thing is for the executive branch, I believe they use the Gray Robinson. We actually paid that lobbying contract on behalf of the student government. And then just want to give you an idea of the ticket center sales. So as expected, Disney and Universal, those would be like the highest numbers. Another one is Kennedy Space Center. That one's kind of surprising. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because we have a lot of engineering students, but that tends to sell a lot as well. And then Regal, I think that's because Regal is in Waterford, so we sell a lot of those tickets. And then the budget request. So I just want to mention the only thing ASF pays for is our OPS employees, and we only hire UCF students. For the ticket center and expense revenue projection, it's $3 million, but that's not using ASF funds at all. So we don't buy tickets with ASF funds. We use the ticket sales money, and that covers the new ticket. So it's self-sustaining itself. So I just want to, it's in the budget bill, but we just want to let you know, like ASF doesn't fund the $3 million. And that will conclude my presentation for the ticket center. Any questions?
All right. Does anyone have any questions for the ticket center? Smil?
Motion to move to the next entity.
I am not going to see that. I have a quick question really quickly. Sorry. Your OPS went down from last year. Can you just kind of touch on how that
Yeah,
happened?
so the ticket center, we actually don't open like year round. So like, because I know it's when student government, when the university closes after final, student government doesn't work as well. So then we're going to close as well during that time. So in the past, I think they haven't stayed open, but I've kind of matched it because our employees are students as well. So we kind of want to match it. And it's called Student Government Ticket Center. So we were like, we're just going to match what student government does. So in the past, they had more, but and here I can keep it kind of flat.
Gotcha. All right. Now, are there any other final discussion? Wanjin?
Go to the next entity.
All right. There's been a motion to move to the next entity. Are there any objections? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Judicial is probably not here. I told them 120. Thought those 2 would take a little longer. But, we can start the non-recurring discussion really quick. I'm just going to update the spreadsheet. So bear with me for 1 second. Okay. Oh, perfect timing. All right, not to throw you in on the spot, but we are going to move on to judicial. Oh, I already opened it. Oh, okay. That's a good guess. Judicial's presentation. So whenever you're ready, you can come up and begin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Apologies for the typo. So Hello, thank you so much for having me today. I'm representing the judicial branch today. If you do not know me or I didn't have the pleasure to meet you, my name is Bella. I currently serve as the Chief Justice of our judicial branch here for the student government, which is one of the three branches of student government. So this is our budget request. Very quickly about the Judicial Council. The Judicial Council is a student government branch made up of 14 associate justices, and within 14 of those associate justices, we have 3 that serve in leadership. So that includes myself, there's 1 chief justice, and 2 assistant chief justices that serve as my left and right hand. They're kind of my assistants, so those 3 positions are paid, and the rest 11 are associate justices. With that, we do have the mission of the council, which is dedicated to improving the life of the student body at UCF by working to uphold and protect students' rights through interpretation of the student body's constitution and university policies. Excuse me, as well as to uphold and protect the rights of the student body through appeals and advising processes. Justices serve on appellate boards, lending the student perspective on parking appeals, grade appeals, fiscal appeals, and more. So a little bit about some of the student service arms that we have here that we offer as a branch. The first one being judicial review, which maintains SG checks and balances, which is any UCF student can request judicial review on any executive or legislative act within student government. That is when we will hold a hearing, and that is how we maintain those checks and balances. Then we also have impartial advising. So justices serve as impartial advisors for student academic and student conduct, academic integrity, as well as grade appeal processes. So that is when a student can submit their request through our Night Connect form, and we will then assign them an associate justice to become that impartial advisor. Associate justices are also trained to serve as hearing officers for those SCI panels. So not only do we advise students, we can also serve on those formal appeal panels, stuff like that. Annually trained by SCI Assistant Director, which is why we provide that that specific service arm of becoming hearing officers for those SCI panels. Then we have parking appeals. So we serve as the second appellate level for students with parking tickets. So first, the student will appeal their citation to parking services within the university, and then if they deem to appeal that again, they can come to us as that second appellate board. The interesting fact with that is that we are obviously fully a student made up branch. So we offer that different perspective that maybe parking services may not be able to provide. With that, we can either uphold a citation, uphold but reduce to the $10 service fee, or overturn those citations completely. Then we have election violation appeals and contestment hearings. So any student may bring an appeal of an election violation or a contestment of the student government elections. And then lastly, we have fiscal appeals, which allows RSOs and students with student government funding to appeal those Senate sanctions. So very quickly, some of the progress that we have made as a council of this year. So the council has sustained and maintained student conduct, academic integrity, case advisement with an increase of approximately 181%, 181.82%, rising from 22 cases heard in 2024 to 62 cases heard in 2025. The council also recorded significant growth in parking citation appeal cases with a 176% increase from 25 cases in 2024 to 69 cases in 2025. We also created a new parking appeals, SCI advisor, and grade appeals request form in late October for easier access and clear direction for all of our students utilizing those resources. We also held the first fiscal administrative decision appeal hearing since 2022. We'll also reach 300 plus students on our main campus across 2 outreach events, those being Coffee with the Council and Lounging with the Lawyers. Lounging with the Lawyers becoming our largest annual event that we put up, and that is through our Judicial Outreach Committee, which I'll talk about a little bit in a second, but as well as it is there. We hosted Lounging with the Lawyers early November of this year. And then lastly, we are currently anticipating the University of Southern Florida's Supreme Court visit in the spring. That has become kind of an annual thing. Last year, we visited USF as a branch, and that is how we partner up with USF. This year, we'll be inviting them to experience our judicial branch here at UCF. So our operations budget request is $7,700 dollars in total. This was decreased by $1,300 from last year's budget to meet the A&SF request limit for this upcoming fiscal year. So that is the breakdown that you see over there. So we have Percocets at $800. So that is for professional attire, name tags, polos, stuff like that. We have advertising at $700 to replenish new inventory. I would like to make a note that the judicial branch, as opposed to its sister branches, we are a reactionary branch. So it's very, very important for us to be able to have that advertisement because we are not able to go out there as a branch, as students, and kind of incentivize students to submit those requests. They have to come to us with all of their concerns. So it's very important for us to be able to spread that awareness around campus, make sure that students are aware that some of these service arms are available to them so that they're able to submit requests for that if they get in trouble with, again, appealing parking citation or student conduct requests, stuff like that. So advertising is at $700. Then we have professional development at $1,000 for summer, fall, and spring retreats that are mandated by statutes. Those are very lengthy retreats. This year we onboarded 7 brand new justices, and so those retreats sometimes take, if not half a day, then a full business day. And so we do provide catering, and I do feed the justices during these retreats. Then we have operating supplies and services at $1,000. That mainly goes to the Judicial Leadership Council, which is our mentorship program, and their project. So we each one of them gets a a crew neck. So that is about $600, $700. And then the rest of that money gets allocated to their project. And last year's winner of the project that next year gets to put up that event. So that is considered also one of those outreach events. And we have travel expense at $1,200 for the chief, because the chief does travel to the Big 12 conferences, so that is to cover those costs. And then we have other operating expenses at $3,000. Those are mainly for outreach events and tabling projects. So very quickly, those changes that you see from last year, from this year's to next year's, we had a decrease of $1,300 in operations due to OPS increase and that minimum wage going up, and so we couldn't exceed that request limit. So these are the cuts that were made. We cut $300 in advertisement, $200 in professional development, and $800 in other operating expenses to meet that limit. If there were no limit, the request total would be $9,000 as it was allocated for this year to match, again, fiscal year 26 budget and ensure the cohesive and extensive function of the Judicial Council. So this is also our OPS budget request. 3 positions do get paid on the Judicial Council. That is myself, the Chief Justice, and the 2 Assistant Chief Justices. So we did match those minimum wage increases going for the assistants and the chief, and the total comes out to $24,377 for our OPS. And then very quickly going to our recurring wish list request, we are requesting two different items, and they are in the priority order. So I would like the committee to first prioritize the first request, and then the second, if there are funds left over. So the first one being a $1,300 allocation back to our operations in order to maintain that consistent operation of the Judicial Council from the previous fiscal year. And then our second one would be an increase of $11,921 in our OPS to ensure that 5 committee chairs of the Judicial Council become compensated positions and are put on, become salaried positions. So the first request would be, as I mentioned, to allocate back those $1,300 that we did have this year in order to ensure the continued effective operation of the Judicial Council and its service arms. These funds will be directed towards advertising, professional development, and other operating expenses, and will be applied accordingly to this year's budget. So those cuts that you saw, those I believe $300 from advertisement, $200 from, let me just quickly go up, professional development, and $800 from other operating expenses would be allocated exactly that same way. I would like to note very quickly that this year the council was able to absorb a very large expense that we did not anticipate. This year we were able to cover a third of the banquet for SGLC, which is our mentorship program here, that did cost us about $800. That has not yet previously ever been covered by the branch, and so that was a huge expense. But I'm very excited to say that we were able to shift some things around and cut a little bit of our outreach event projects in order to be able to cover that. But that is why that $1,300 is so crucial in order to keep covering things such as the SGLC banquet, that those funds would be definitely allocated that way. So next one. And then our second request for recurring wish list would be to allocate that $11,921 to our OPS in order to have those 5 committee chairs become salaried positions. So the working bodies of the Judicial Council, its committees, there's 5 of them, develop and implement ideas, initiatives, and projects essential to the branch's growth and continued effectiveness. Committee chairs regularly contribute time and effort beyond what is required of an associate justice in their statutory role. In recognition of this additional commitment, they should receive appropriate compensation for their work. And next slide, I do have a breakdown of how we came to this. So the Judicial Council is composed of 5 committees, and I'm very quickly going to talk about what each one does. So Judicial Outreach Committee is the one that puts up that very large event, that Lounging with the Lawyers, annually, as well as a couple other of our outreach events. They're the ones that you will most likely see mostly around campus tabling, doing those different events. Then we have Judicial Advertisement and Marketing. As the name says, they're the ones that approve and make all the different pamphlets, flyers, marketing materials that you may see on our student government Instagram, stuff like that. We also have Judicial Experience Committee. They are the ones that create all the different bonding events for all of our Judicial Leadership Council members, as well as they do put up an event in the spring called Day at the Courthouse, where the Judicial Council, as well as the JLCers, go downtown to the courthouse, and we have a whole day there of training. With that, they will also be helping this year to coordinate that USF visit with myself. So the chair will definitely be helping with those planning and organizing events. With that, we have Internal Rules Committee. It's our internal committee, the one that helps with updating all the different language that we have, very specific language. So they're the ones that will write the different language for advertisement materials, as well as for basically every single other one of these committees. So you'll see them working on a lot of the different governing documents that we have, as well as the website language. Lastly, President Committee are the ones that actually physically update the website. They're also the ones that will update all of our Night Connect forms to make sure that those are up to date and that they have the latest resources for all of our students. So the request is to allocate funding for 5 committee chairs, each compensated for 5 hours per week at $15 an hour, with the minimum wage increase going up next year over approximately 31 weeks per year. This allocation would place Judicial Council committee chairs in alignment with Senate internal committee chairs in terms of compensation. So I know I'm a data numbers person, so I just included a couple of facts that I'll show on the other slide. This was kind of my internal initiative running for chief, and so I had all 5 of my chairs track their hours that they put into their committee for the past, I believe, 4 to 5 weeks. And so this is the data that we collected. Chair average hours per week were 6.61 hours that they contributed on top of their associate justice responsibilities. So that could mean that not only are they helping advising a student, they're still attending all of the different general counsel meetings as well as different hearings. They're also contributing that number of hours on top just to be able to ensure that their committee is functioning. Highest hour week report was 21 hours reported by our JOC chair during the week of Lounging with the Lawyers. Again, our biggest event annually. Associate Justice David did report that he worked 21 hours that week in order to be able to have that event take place. Then you see all that breakdown by each committee. And on the next slide, these are all the breakdowns of each committee chair reporting to me. I believe they all started around mid to late October into mid-November. And you can tell each one definitely reported different amounts of hours, but this is what they reported, that they were working, again, on top of their associate justice responsibilities in order to be able to have that committee function. And so lastly, if we can very quickly, I do have some of the totals here that I would like to mention. So the total that we are requesting is $32,077, and that would be our operations at $7,700 and OPS at $24,377. With the recurring wish list item number 1, that $1,300 being allocated back into operations, that would set us at $33,377, with operations being back to $9,000 and OPS being at $24,377. And the total with recurring wish list items number 1 and 2 would put us at $45,298, with operations at $9,000 and OPS at $36,298. And with that, that is it for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Very quickly before I open it up to the committee, just to fill you in on how we're kind of handling our discussion, the committee may choose to talk about the recurring wish list items, but we're not going to fully vote on whether or not we're adding them until we see all the entities and we have a discussion at the end about them. But Samilo, and then Hamid, and then Wanjin.
Hi, thanks for coming. So earlier we had a few discussions about the positions of the Senate President and the Chief Justice, with the Senate President coming in at about $16 an hour. for the next year, and then you coming in at 17 per year, we decided to kind of meet in the middle and do 1650, if that's okay with you, having both of you guys being paid at 1650 per hour. That was just a conversation we were kind of having as a committee to kind of compensate and get those requests in that are on your wish list. So kind of just having that conversation, asking you what you think.
Yeah, so apologies. I was not aware that there was a conversation like that. I would definitely be able to match that 1650, I believe. That would totally work.
Can I ask 3 questions? Okay. So we're on the slide anyway. Sorry. So for the reports of your committee chairs and what work they did, some of them gave explanations as to what they did every day, but some of them didn't. Would you be able to go through the Judicial Outreach Committee, Internal Rules Committee, and Judicial Advertising and Marketing Committee? These are all 3 of my questions, sorry. And kind of just explain further as to what they did in these hours?
Yes. Apologies that some of them didn't include it. So Judicial Outreach Committee, first of all, so that was the few weeks leading up to Lounging with the Lawyers. So some of those projects include things as I know the chair was reaching out individually to very quickly about Lounging with the Lawyers. That is where we invite 5 panelists, 5 lawyers that sit right here, and they actually talk to the student body about all the different exposure that they have in their career. And so a lot of the work that I know the JOC chair puts in was to, first of all, emailing all those different panelists, making sure that they were arriving on time. We also had to reserve different golf carts because we had to go and pick up those different lawyers and attorneys and bring them here to the student union. Then I know he was also working on placing catering orders because we did provide catering not only for the lawyers but also to all the students that attended. Also working on that RSVP list, as well as working on different questions because there was a preset questionnaire for the panelists, so they were approving that as a committee. So I know the JOC chair definitely was working on that. As you can tell, the highest reported day was Wednesday hours on November 9th. Again, that would be on the week of November 9th. So that Wednesday was the actual event. I know the chair was here that whole day setting up. We were decorating the room, as well as, again, bringing in all of those panelists and lawyers, setting up that catering in our chamber. And so does that explain a little bit about JOC? Okay, so moving on, Internal Rules Committee. The Internal Rules Committee is very internal. So I know the chair, Monday, that 1 hour was definitely probably setting up for committee time. So just creating that agenda, overlooking all the different edits. Wednesday is probably, again, prepping for that committee. Each week, 2 associate justices bring forward their amendments to our governing documents. So it was definitely probably overlooking those amendments, making sure that they are on the same level with the committee as well as the chair. And then Thursday is when the committee takes place. And so take away the hour of just serving in that committee, as well as an hour most likely staying after. Usually I meet with the Internal Rules Committee chair after to discuss what changes were made if I was not able to be in that committee. And so I believe those just fluctuate a little bit depending on how many edits were made or amendments were made for the different things on the agenda. And then lastly, for Judicial Advertisement and Marketing Committee, our JAM committee chair overlooks every single one of our Canva designs as well as projects going on. So not only does she help each associate justice individually with their requests, she also helps all the different committees. So for example, JOC was putting out a lot of marketing materials before Lounging with the Lawyers. So creating all those different Canva designs that were going out on Instagram. We had a lot of posters that we were printing, as well as putting up around housing and different areas of campus. So just creating all of those on Canva, as well as approving those designs, as well as, again, conducting the actual committee time itself, and probably just helping individual initiatives. Did that answer your question?
2 questions, if I may. So first, you mentioned the $800 for the SGLC banquet. Is there a reason you didn't add that also in your operations request? I know you have the $1,300 to make whole. Is there a reason you didn't request that before requesting the additional positions that, as far as I know, have never been paid before?
Yes, so you are correct. Those positions have never been paid. Again, I would just like to bring forward to the committee. I believe personally that these individuals should be compensated. That is something that I just wanted to start advocating for if in case this year there is not enough money to allocate. But yes, we were able to absorb that $800 this year by just moving some things around. So last year we did have one allocation of non-reoccurring $3,000 that were allocated to us for our advertisements. So we were able to replenish a lot of our stocks for advertisement and all of those different, as I mentioned, pamphlets, flyers, stuff like that. So this year we realized that we did have a copious amount of that advertisement. So I was able to shrink and move around a couple $100 in order to be able to match that budget, that SGLC banquet. And so just seeing that we were able to manage, I wanted to focus our request in other places, seeing that we were able to match that in our operations.
Okay. My second question, is there something unique about the Judicial Advertisement and Marketing Committee that makes the agendas take 5 to 7 hours to organize and review?
I'm not sure specifically. I can definitely text my chair right now and provide, ask her for specific provisions. Again, currently these positions are working as volunteer. So I believe it is also in terms of their own initiative. I believe she enjoys this work a lot. I could not provide you a specific answer, but I can definitely reach out to my chair and ask for specific clarification.
Samila?
Just a clarification question. For hours per week, you're only requesting 5 hours per week for each.
Yes. So it definitely would not be matched what they're doing here. It's just 5 hours per week.
I mean,
How did you track the hours? Did they track it themselves, or did they come to you like every day saying? "We
So
did
I
this"?
requested them to track it themselves. They sent it to me, I believe, about a week ago or so. Again, this was my own kind of passion project. So I just asked them to track it themselves, kind of utilize it as their own clock in time. And that is what they provided me.
all right. Sherman?
Yeah. Sorry, this is like a change of topic, but it looks like last year you requested $800 for conference travel, and this year $1,200. Is that change reflected in the $1,300 that would like make it whole compared to last year?
Excuse me, could you rephrase the question? Sorry, could you repeat?
Last year it looks like on the presentation, it may have changed after the presentation, but the presentation has $800 for conference travel last year, and this year $1,200. So is that reflected in like the non-recurring, or sorry, the recurring wish list that would bring it back up to that amount?
So I believe that was moved from other operating expenses to the travel expense after talking to my advisor, saying that travel and budgeting costs have increased, as well as there are 2 possible conferences that the chief may go on. So I was just projecting for the possible travel that the chief may be on next year.
Samila?
Can I just clarify for the committee as well? So previously, the people that go on that trip, normally it's paid under exec. It was new that we added it to judicial, so it was kind of just an estimated budget. So I think this year it's probably more reflective of actuals than an estimate, if that helps.
All right. And really quickly, I moved the Chief Justice from $17 to $16.50, and that brought the OPS from $24,377 to $24,060. So not about $250 or so decrease. So is there a motion to amend budget line 134 to $24,060? Cool. All right. Any other comments, discussion for the judicial branch? Seeing none. Benitez.
Motion to move to the next entity.
All right, there's been a motion to move to the next entity. Are there any objections? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. I also went in and changed the Senate President OPS from 16 to 1650, and that increased from 68,510 to 68,786, but it still kept the 1.0%. It didn't change that. So is there a motion to amend budget line 139 to 68,786? All right. So we have about 50 minutes before, Wanja?
Can you fix the Excel formula for the executive branch total? Currently, it's missing the caucuses line
Is it really?
for the totals for both the A&SF committee and Senate approval. It's only going down to line 131. It needs to go down to 32.
Yes. And where was the other spot it need to get changed?
Just the Senate approval right next to it.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right, so we have about 50 minutes until EC is going to get here, and that is the last entity. So before that, we are going to have our non-recurring budget discussion. And this should be not too bad, but I have a slide for it. Made a few things last night. Okay, so basically our non-recurring budget, it was advised this year that the non-recurring requests go directly towards FCA, and this was everything that was submitted to us in the non-recurring requests. Sports Club Council had two things. RWC had 5 things. Student Union had 3 things. A&SF had 1 thing. But the RWC, Student Union, and A&SF all had FCA requests. And the original plan was kind of just to divide FCA between the two, numbers 2, 3, and 4 there. But then we, after some discussions, all of the FCA, as much as we would like to allocate, which we can have a conversation about, but most, if not all of it, would probably go towards FCA. Would just go under the A&SF business office, and then we would add proviso language in the spring stating that it's for RWC, Student Union, and A&SF, so all needs from those 3 entities. So I'd like to open this up conversation now while we have some time about this. Hamid and then Samilo.
I wanted to talk first about the actuator for the student union.
Yes.
Okay. So I think that should be like one of our priorities along with like the FCA stuff, mostly because SG, I know I'm biased, I'm the pro temp, forgive me, but our space is meant to be open to all students, but currently our office is not accessible to, a portion of our student body. So I really think that we should give funding towards that.
Samilo.
So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but even if we approve anything other than FCA, it'll probably end up getting denied anyways from people way above us, essentially saying that FCA is priority because that's exactly what happened this year. For example, the RWC came up here and told us multiple things on their list is not going to be paid for, like the course, and there was something else won't be paid for because FCA is taking priority. So I think there's no point in us even having this conversation, and we should just fund FCA.
Wanja.
I echo Kylie.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Right now, it would just be dropping this non-recurring amount, the 1.2 million, into the A&SF non-recurring budget line, and then adding proviso language in the spring. That's kind of the current plan. So any other thoughts about that before I go in and add that? Any thoughts from anyone else too about that? Okay, cool. Just give me 1 second to add that in. Okay. And then everything else will just be 0 in non-recurring projects and one-time expenses. All right. So that is non-recurring. That's all I had for that. So now we do have, again, 50 minutes until EC shows up. So we can begin talking about the items on the recurring wish list. I want to pull up my other spreadsheet real quick. Okay. So I updated it with what's the current request is. Our recurring budget, $19,264,489. What is currently been allocated is $19,121,241. So about $143,247 left in that recurring budget to allocate. And currently, all of our recurring wish list items, including everything on this list, the Sports Club Council is $23,500, not $22,000. Alternative break program is $2,000, not $1,000, and that includes student legal services, extra $15,000 in OPS. So theoretically, all of that would get covered and adds up to $140,888, which still leaves about $2,500 left to allocate. So we'll start this discussion, Wanjin, then Samila.
Two things. First, can whoever is editing the document just put EC's request into the A&SF committee line too, so that it shows the correct remaining. And then I also wrote down what I'm pretty sure all the making whole stuff is. So VUCF with 1901, late nights with 750, court with 2104, and judicial with 1300. I think was everything that's a true making whole, which is 6,055. And we could also add in execs OPS 25 cents, which is another 1155. But that's where I would like to personally start.
Samila, did you want to?
I also don't think we voted on non-reoccurring budget.
Oh, do I gotta vote to put that line in?
Yeah, sorry.
People think not that.
It's okay. Is there a motion to amend budget line 178 to $1,214,286? All right. And is there a motion to make all the other non-recurring budget line zero? Cool. Okay. Everything should be updated. Rose.
I think the exec total still needs to be updated on the A&SF committee column to go down to 132.
Are we good there, or does something need to be changed? Okay. Samila.
Okay. So I would like to talk about Sports Club Council. They have programs for travel. They have $7,000 more. It seems like they're always asking us for more to travel. So I just have questions on like why that's the case when like we already funded them so much more last year. And then this year they're asking for even more from last year. And I get that there's 3 new clubs, but that was the same thing last year. So why isn't it the same number?
That I don't know.
I know, but like that's just the,
But, like,
that's
yeah.
the conversation I want to
yeah.
have.
Wanjin.
I mean, I'm sure Gary can speak to this better than I can, but to the best of my knowledge, it's because that's the only way these organizations get funding, and travel costs are a lot for sports organizations, especially if they're going to competitions out of state regularly. I know the wrestling club that I'm a part of has $11,000, which is way less than we could theoretically get through SG, but the benefits of being on sport club council or of being a sport club council member are more important than the extra $9,000 in funding that we could get if we approved everything single tournament through SG. So that $7,000 is just their request to try to provide more money to those organizations to be able to support them with those travel costs. And it's kind of like CRT or FAO where they could always use more money.
Samila.
Okay, so with that, I would like to make a motion. I would like to make a motion to approve all of the reoccurring wish list items for volunteer UCF, including the excess 1,000 for the spring trip, making that 2,901 total. And then Sports Club Council, I would like to approve all of them as well and add the 22,000.
All right. There's been a motion to approve volunteer UCF and Sports Club Council's recurring wish lists. Are there any objections? Seeing none, let me go in and edit those. So just bear with me for one moment. If y'all want to check my math as we go, just add the 500 for large scale events, ABP 2000, and operations. All right. Volunteer UCF is completed. Let me do. They have all been updated, Blanca.
Are we ready to move on to like a different discussion item?
Yes, we can move
Okay.
on to.
I just wanted to bring attention to Campus Activities Board, their wish list item for $30,000 additionally to fund concerts. I think it's really important that we understand the environment we're in with talent acquisition and how much more time, energy, and how costly it's becoming to recruit really good talent for our students. And so I know it's a larger item on the reoccurring wish list, but I think it's really important, to keep our events high quality as they should be for the amount of students that we have here. And I, would advocate for even more, but I want to honor what they have here, as well as everyone else's request, in addition to the fine arts $5,000. So I'd like to hear if anyone has any opposing ideas to that.
Me.
I was just gonna make the motion to add the 30,000 to their concerts line.
Just the 30,000 or the 5,000 too for the fine arts.
That's a different line.
Just
right?
to start with the.
Let's just start with the concerts.
Okay,
And then I
there's-
have another thing.
There's been a motion to approve the concert item on the CAB's recurring wish list. Are there any objections? Yes, that works.
And then I want to talk about
Just the
late
concert.
nights operations to make their whole thing whole. So would motion to add 750 back to, would it be their operations budget? Yes, motion to add 750 to late nights operations.
I will see that once I'm done adding cabs. Okay. Can you please repeat your motion?
Motion to add $750 to late nights operations.
All right, there's been a motion to add $750 to late nights operations. Are there any objections? Seeing none, I see Wanjan's hand.
Like I mentioned, both court and judicial have stuff to make them whole. I'm sorry, I don't have the budget line for judicial, but motion to add 21,104 to line 50, which is court operations, and then add 1,300 to the judicial. Line 135 to judicial branches operations, 1,300 making whole.
Okay, so there's been a motion to add $2,104 to courts operations and $1,300 to judicial operations. Is that correct? All right. Any objections? Seeing none, let me go in and do that. You got all these. Okay. All right. Who's got the next one? Hamid.
I want to talk about MSC's operations. I know they said they wanted to add $3,000 to it, and they were able to show that they had a 75% student traffic increase since 2022 with their renovation. So I think they kind of showcased why they need the money and like where it would go. So I'm just going to make the motion. Motion to add $3,000 to MSC's operation line.
All right, there's been a motion to add $3,000 to MSC's operations. Are there any objections? Seeing none. All right, that has been updated. All right, we're doing good.
Did we ever talk about the student legal services, student assistant increase?
We did not.
Did we want to calculate that and see how much it would?
We can open that stuff then. One.
I believe it should just be quadrupling what they currently have because they currently have 10 hours and it would push to 40. So it should be pretty simple math. They wanted to add 30 hours, right?
I believe it was 30 hours, about $15,000. I don't know.
Was it 30 hours extra or 30 hours total?
Similar to, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote it down. So They wanted 32 hours total per week. So it would be 15 hours each for each person.
Okay. Do we want to throw that in the like their OPS like column and then? Okay, I'm gonna open that one up. Okay. Samila, if you want to throw the numbers in the OPS on student legal services to calculate the exact amount. Yes, I opened it up. While she's working on that, do we want to talk about what?
I'm so sorry. Did you ask a clarifying question? Because their PowerPoint says an additional 30 hours per week for.
Okay. Drink water.
Yeah, I motion to add the $20,000 to budget line 141 for the student government legislative branch. Just considering the fact that we're almost through the CRT money for this year and it's December right now, I think we could give that account $1.2 million and it would probably still run out. So I think just adding 20,000 is pretty fair, considering that goes directly back to students and RSOs and going on trips.
All right, there's been a motion to add $20,000 to the registration and travel line of the legislative branch. Are there any objections? Seeing none. One second, once I add this. All right, Samila. Gotcha. I'll just go in and add it.
So the 15, there's like already a line at the top.
Okay.
So just say 15, 10, and then 33 weeks. Instead of 32.
Okay. And how many weeks you said?
32. And then change the bottom.
And then do you know what the increase? I assume that's a 1. Why is that still not working? Oh. There we go. Lush?
Can we maybe if she's still in her office, if we could go down there and ask, because she might have asked for an additional 30 hours and that's a 25% difference than in
I
pay.
do think it was an additional.
The hours per week are supposed to be 15. Well, supposedly.
One second. Yeah. So
Put 15 and see what it comes up to.
for both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're gonna be so teach.
Then it's about the $15,000 that we're talking about. Okay. We could also see if she's here.
I think she asked for an additional 15,000, which would mean that this is the total 15,000.
I would like to confirm with her if she's still here. Someone else. Her number? Oh, yeah, we can run. Is there a motion to recess for 5 minutes while we go? Fine. Okay. I recess this meeting at 1:57. To reconvene at 2:02. All right, we're coming back. I reconvene this meeting at 2:02 p.m. For those that did not hear, Student Legal Services.
Please be quiet.
I know I don't have a gavel, but Student Legal Services will probably be back in at 2:30, around the same time as EC. So we will table the discussion on Student Legal Services OPS for now. courts.
Okay, I just had a question for late nights. You're still here, right? Regarding your request for, hold on, I lost it on the page, for agency polos and jackets, do you have like around a ballpark estimate of how much the polo, wait, first, how many people get these polos and jackets?
About 6. Well, the 6 student directors.
Okay, and then do you happen to have kind of like a ballpark estimate of how much the polos cost and then how much the jackets cost?
Separate, I have to look it up. I do have it, but altogether it was about $760. It was not less than 700.
Okay, thank you. So if the committee wishes to kind of have a discussion on that, I'm not really too picky on the number. But yeah, I think it warrants a little bit of discussion. If you guys wish to, I don't know.
May I direct a question to Shane?
Oh yeah, there he is.
Do most of the agencies within OSI buy jackets for their team?
I don't know if I can answer whether most of them. I do know that we do have some of them that do, though. And partly because there is outdoor events that they're doing and things like that.
Right. Who's next? Who's got something? Any motions we want to make about that line? Rose?
Motion to add $760 to that line.
All right, there's been a motion to add $760 to late nights operations. Are there any objections? Seeing none, it will be done. Lush, then Quartz, then Jones. Oh, Hamid. Lush, Hamid, Jones.
Motion to add $200 to student government legislative branch operations.
Is there a motion to add $200 to legislative branches operations? Are there any objections? Seeing none. That will be done. All right, Hamid.
I want to go back to MSC and their programming and LGBTQ plus services. So are they both separate lines?
Yes, they are two separate lines.
Okay. Just two motions, if I can.
Yeah.
First, motion to add $1,000 to MSC's programming line, and then motion to add $3,000 to the LGBTQ plus services.
Am I crazy?
I think so. Okay. There's been a motion to add $1,000 to MSC's programming and $3,000 to LGBTQ plus services. Are there any objections? Seeing none.
I swear they did. I have it written down.
If you find it.
Okay.
Oh.
So 75 plus 48,000. Which
We added 3,000 to their operations.
no, the second line, 75 is LGBTQ plus services.
You're looking at that. They're two different lines.
So, the 3,000 was for their.
Yeah.
Correct.
See program. All right, Jones. Oh, you're doing the MSC ones. Gotcha. All right, we've got a few left that we still haven't talked about. Okay, who wants to take one?
So it looks like what we have left is the 9,000 for late nights, 6,400 programming for court, 5,000 for fine arts for cab, OPS with judicial, and then if we wanted to fix execs OPS as well as the student legal services stuff and all of EC.
Yes.
Just making sure everyone on the committee is tracking that.
Samila, and then Lusht.
All
Okay, so circling back to CAB, since we kind of already talked about it, adding that $5,000 for fine arts to line 25, making it 37,
All right. 38,000.
38,
There's been a motion to amend
whatever the math is.
budget line 25 for fine arts for CAB to $38,000. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that is done. Lusht.
I was just gonna say that if we approve everything that's on this paper, we'll still have about $4,000 left, and that's including student legal services. So unless there's something that we all have like an issue with, I think that we'd be fine approving everything.
I would like to just go. Well, I don't want to. I'm hesitant to vote on EC stuff yet, just because we haven't seen them yet. And then judicial's OPS, we'll have a conversation about. So if we want, right now, besides that, it's late nights, events, and courts programming is left. So, Smilla.
At this point, I would say I wouldn't want to approve too much more, just because we still have to see EC and kind of go over whatever they may be asking, and then other things that we might want to circle back on. Speaking of that, exec, we made a budget cut to them to compensate for the 1%, and I think we should just put them back, if that's something we're able to do, put them back to 1550, since we have extra and there's nowhere else it needs to go.
Yeah, on that, move to add 1155 to exec's OPS, which I believe should restore it to that 1550.
Okay. I'm just going to pull up their budget packet. And I'm going to just add it to that first. Just to confirm for exec, that's bringing the directors and the chief of staff and the deputy chief of staff up from 1525, which we cut it to 1550. Is that correct? Okay. So, wait, am I crazy or that's the same number? How is it the same number?
It must not have been changed on there, I assume.
Or with the reduction thing? Does that make sense?
No.
I'm getting the same number by
I think it must
increasing.
not have been changed on.
So it looks like that 154,392 is with the 1550. So. Yeah. So looks like we don't need to amend it. So exec's back. All right. Smilo Hamid Court.
Okay, and then this isn't necessarily voting on anything, but I kind of just wanted to circle back to the non-reoccurring budget, just to like, because I won't be here when we do the provisional language, but that does include FCA and the utility increase fee.
Right now, from my understanding, it was just the FCA and not the utility.
Okay.
I would have to open that up to.
Okay, so then follow up for the language. Can we add that it would also include the utility as the project within that budget?
Yes, I would be comfortable with doing that. So.
Okay, just because that is something that's a bill we need to pay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yes, in the proviso language will include the utility. Of course. Thank you very much for coming back. I really appreciate that. It is all good. No worries. We appreciate you coming back. Are we ready to circle back to this conversation? Yep. Okay. You can start.
Okay. Welcome back. So my question for you was, I know that your PowerPoint said one thing and then we kind of communicated else. So I just wanted to clarify, with the staff increase, you said that $15,000 added for 30 hours total. Were you wanting 30 hours excess or 30 hours total? That was all. Thank you.
Okay, I just reverted it back to what it was so that we can change it from here. So, Samila.
So with that on the budget thing, it'll be 20 hours per week. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. 20 hours per week, $15 per hour. And then whatever that number comes out to be is what we would change her budget line to for OPS.
And this is a separate line than the original one. This is adding.
Well, you
a
could just
new-
add the quantity to 2, and then pay hourly is 15, and then change it to 40 total, and then 33. And then that total would be what we change OPS to.
There should be 20 hours per week per person.
20. Gotcha. There we go. All right. So that brings up to 19,859, which makes sense. Right? Does it? Yeah, that makes sense. That's about a $14,000 increase. So is there a motion to amend budget line 149 to $19,859? All right. Thank you very much for coming back and clarifying that. I believe it was just a quick question, so that is all we need from you. Okay. All right, okay, so that brings us, we still have 32,384 left in recurring to allocate. Obviously, we have about 15 minutes before EC shows up. Benitez, then Hamid. I did? Oh, Hamid, the courts. I forgot we're still on that.
All right. I wanted to go back to court. Because I know they have the one last thing for programming for opening night. But the thing is, I think we can all agree it's a really important event. And I know they said that they've experienced more expenses with that. So motion to move $6,400 to the programming for court.
There's been a motion to add $6,400 to court's programming. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that is done.
All right, and I'm not requesting any changes. I just have a clarifying question for the line change that we made to exec for the 1,155. Is that something that was added, or since there was no changes on the budget bill, it's just there?
I'm really sorry. Can you repeat your question? I
Was
just
the
finished adding.
1,155 to exec, did that make a monetary change, or because somebody had said that you said that you didn't change the.
Yeah, so I never updated it when it was still 1550. So it's good the way it is.
Okay.
Basically. Okay. All right. Benitez.
All right, so I'm gonna discuss the 9,000 that Late Nights is asking for events, especially as last year when I was director of student affairs, I worked the Movement to Wonderland and et cetera, and that's an event that really is very cost efficient for exec's budget. But ideally, that's when we partner with a lot of the other agencies such as Cab Late Nights, and given that money, I would have actually loved if they could really invest more within the collaborations events that they do. And like they listed that Fright Night, they had a lot of complaints just because like the production was not there. And then unfortunately, as like prices are going up, it's very needed that we need to raise the events as much as we can with this activity and service number that we have at the moment. So I motion to approve the $9,000 for events to budget line 64 of Late Nights.
All right. There's been a motion to amend budget line 64 to $51,598. Are there any objections? Seeing none, it is. All right. There is still $16,984 left in the recurring pot. And obviously we have judicial and EC left. So we can either wait for EC to come in, Samila.
Is EC coming at 2:30?
2:30 is the plan, yeah.
Okay, so with that, can we move to talk about the judicial branch OPS?
Yeah.
Okay. I do not want to start the conversation now.
Who would like to start that?
I was gonna say that I wanted to talk about it after we heard from EC, just so that like we could go through both of them at the same time, and also because we only have 12 minutes. And I don't know how long this conversation would take. I was gonna motion to recess, but
Let me just check my messages real quick. Blanca.
I just kind of wanted to go back to the conversation about the actuator for the front doors of the student government office. And Rick Falco, if you can provide maybe some more context about where the current project is at and maybe some of the challenges we're facing. So I think it's really important. And I think this is money well spent because you guys have seen the lines for Scantrons and resources. It's out the door. And to someone who may be facing some mobile, accessibility concerns, we're really not serving our students properly in that manner.
So what context are you looking for? I'm sorry.
So I know the concern that was brought up by Kylie, by like committee member Samillo, or student at large Samillo, was that there may be some pushback from, other decision makers on, being
Sure.
able to fulfill this project. So can you provide some context on maybe what those roadblocks may be? And, realistically, if we were to allocate the funding towards this, it's $25,000.
Mhm.
Can we get it done?
I certainly hope we can get it done. I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't have been able to get it done in the past. We had a couple project manager changeovers, and then there was a mistake with a contractor, and it's been a litany of errors that has led to the situation we're in. And then we had funding one year for it. I think it was 25,000, but then the funding expired because we couldn't get it done in time. Then we had the big budget cuts, and so it really has just dropped off the radar for a few years. So, the front doors of offices are not required to have an ADA button by code. I think it's something that's important. We have it on almost all of the offices. I think the high use offices, at least in this building. The student government is the highest use office, and so it certainly seems like if we can find a way to fund it, it would be a good step forward. I can commit that I will continue to bring the conversation up. If we can't do it this year, I'll talk about it again next year. Eventually, we'll get it done. So, but it's really up to you all as to if all of the non-recurring is not supposed to go to anything but FCA, then it seems like it's a moot point this year, and we can look at it next year or whatever y'all think. Is that what you're looking for? Sure.
Do Wanjun and Samila.
I was just going to ask if Shane or anyone in like an advisory capacity could give us a statement on like FCA, non-FCA, non-recurring stuff.
I guess I'm going to probably let Dave answer that, but I'm not quite sure I understood what information you're looking for.
Basically, the committee currently has all of our non-recurring funds plopped in for FCA. Are we able to put funds into something else, or is it basically just we need to pay for the facilities condition assessment and that's it?
I guess my recommendation would be, it seems like you've identified a use, something that needs to be done. And I would say, why wait until next year? I would think $25,000, it's not a small amount of money, but in the scheme of a $20 million budget, it's a relatively small amount. And it seems like potentially a couple of offices could pool together, utilizing end of year funds to allocate funds to take care of it this year, as opposed to waiting, for a future year. So that doesn't really answer your FCA question. The FCA numbers, as we said, we've identified 1.2, but the number is much, much higher than that. So we're over $2 million short. We're going to have to go into reserves to cover those costs. So my suggestion would be to utilize funding from this year's budget from a couple of partners to be able to get that project identified and started.
Samila, you still want to?
Okay, so I guess can I direct a question to Mr. Falco? With that, do you believe that you have the capacity right now to start that project and get that done before the fiscal year ends in July?
Sounds like we need to figure it out. Yes, we'll do our best.
Okay, thank you.
Samila.
So with that, I guess the conversation ends with us staying with FCA. Obviously, like my whole thing with that, I obviously want an actuator for the office. Me as much as anybody else, I was a part of disability caucus. I was the vice chair. Like that's something we all talked about multiple times. I wasn't trying to like throw it off to the side, but it's just something that Rick said also is like, it's not necessarily required. And because of that, I felt like it was something that would have been thrown off to the side. So there was no point in really putting funding towards it, in my opinion. But yeah, sorry.
All right. Any other discussion about this, Hamid?
Okay, I just want to like clarify, based off what everyone had just kind of just said, is that technically for the FCA funding that was proposed for us to pay, it was short from what they actually need to pay.
Yes, actually, it's about almost $4 million.
So I'm gonna say something crazy. I think even though we could give all the money to that, I think maybe we should talk about like just keeping 25,000 to get the actuator because they are short anyway. And I know that like this is like a crazy statement, but like I think that we should try and best serve our students. And like this is like obviously I know the importance of FCA and I want to give as much as we can. But I also think that like in the grand scheme of this, it's like $4 million. We're giving $1.1 million. They're going to be short anyway. And I really do think that this actuator would benefit the student body a lot. So I kind of want to get like, what do we think about like taking 25 from like that and giving it straight to that?
Wanjin and Samilo, and then just so y'all know, EC is here.
May I direct a question to Rick and Shane?
Yes, Shane has his hand up anyway.
Okay, I was going to ask if basically with Union, OSI, because I assume those would be the offices mostly involved in this, is there a strong likelihood that by the end of the fiscal year, we would be able to find the funding to be able to do this actuator expense without this going into this budget?
If the student body president would like to reallocate the money that I requested last year for, which I think was about somewhere between $20,000 to $25,000 for the replacement of the gator to that expense, I will not replace the gator, so the actuator can be taken care of and you won't have to worry about putting it into next year's budget.
All right. It seems like we've got a great answer on that. All right. So non-recurring will stay as it is, it seems. All right. Are we ready for our final entity? So EC, come on up. Thank you so much for coming out. And whenever you are ready,
all right,
you may
hello.
begin.
Again, sorry for keeping you guys here this long, just trying to get here early. Good afternoon. My name is Amara Presley, and I currently serve as Supervisor of Elections, and this is my budget proposal and request for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. In this presentation, I will cover what the Election Commission is, last year's expenses, this year's expenses, and what I'm requesting based on this data I brought before you today. The Election Commission is a group of 14 student government agents, 2 of which are elected by the Commission as a supervisor and assistant supervisor of elections that serve to promote and facilitate UCS student government elections. In order to do this, the Commission ensures that candidates abide by Title VI of the student government statutes. Overall, the goal of the Election Commission is to facilitate a fair and educated election with good voter turnout. Due to the addition of more commission seats, 4 committees were created to ensure that the work of the Commission is statutorily required to do is divided more efficiently. These committees are the Marketing Outreach Committee, which handle all of our physical and digital marketing affairs, the Candidate Affairs Committee, which plans all of our external events and develops the election theme, the Legislative Precedent and Rules Committee, which serves as our direct partner to the Senate Elections and Appointments Committee, and is also responsible for developing the Election Rules and Procedures, a document that guides the internal proceedings of the Commission, and the Culture and Experience Committee, which is responsible for boosting morale and planning internal events for the Commission. This slide provides more insight into their individual accomplishments this semester. All right. As a supervisor of elections, it is my statutory responsibility to ensure that every commissioner is knowledgeable of Title VI and how to implement these rules during the election period and violation hearings. In addition to organizing and chairing the weekly election commission meetings, managing our budget and preparation for the election period, and guiding general overall activity of the commission, all requirements of the supervisor, I prepared weekly presentations alongside learning checks in the form of games and mock violation hearings to abide by this requirement and ensure we're properly prepared prior to when candidate applications open. Additionally, the assistant supervisor for elections oversaw a website rehaul to ensure information was correct and up to date. This was done in addition to taking minutes and records for all commission-related activity and serving as the unofficial SGLC coordinator to integrate the election commission into the program, a goal commission leadership has been working to achieve for the past 3 years. Next slide. In the spring, committees will continue with or complete the work they began in the fall. Our election period begins January 12th, which will kickstart all of our major events, marketing initiatives, and contact with the individual candidates via violation hearings and our one-on-ones, and the student body during our official voting period through polling stations located outside the Student Union, the Rosen campus, the downtown campus, and Lake Nona. Next slide. This is an overview of the total number of votes from the past decade. A repeated pattern has shown that an increase in presidential candidates will result in an increase in voter participation. For example, last year's election had 5 candidates, which resulted in 6,038 votes, whereas the 2024 election had 1 candidate and subsequently 2,278 votes. This is an overview of what the Election Commission spent during the 2024-2025 fiscal year. These numbers were grabbed via ERFs I found in the supervisor email. This slide provides a brief explanation of these numbers, their purchases, and what changes were made for this year. And this is an overview of the numbers from this year's budget alongside our upcoming expenses. As you can see, with the additional money granted to us from the A&SF committee last year, we were able to better allocate our funds based on the data observed last year in order to better events, marketing, and professionalism efforts. Also want to bring attention to the total hours worked by the supervisor and assistant supervisor. These are the only 2 paid positions for the Election Commission, currently sitting at $15 for 12 hours per week for 24 weeks for the supervisor, and $14 for 6 hours per week for 20 weeks for the assistant supervisor. This summer and fall, Assistant Supervisor Colazo and I tracked the number of hours we spent in the office working on commission-related material. I just previously described in the past few slides to compare them to the number of hours we were compensated for. As you can tell, there are evident discrepancies, and this doesn't account for the spring, where additional hours in the office will be necessary in order to complete our statutory responsibilities. This then transitions us into this year's requests. For operations, I'm requesting $5,700 for the commission, $500 for perquisites to purchase polos, windbreakers, and name tags for any new commissioners, $4,000 for advertising efforts to continue election marketing at our auxiliary campuses, and $1,200 to fund next year's presidential debate and candidate exposition. For OPS, I'm requesting $16 for $12 per week for 25 weeks for the supervisor of elections and $15 for 6 hours per week for 20 weeks for the supervisor of elections. You'll notice the only 2 changes are the required minimum wage increase and the additional week for the supervisor to give them an extra week of pay for the weeks they're working over the summer. This lastly transitions us into the wish list. First is a $1 increase for both the supervisor and assistant supervisor. This increase not only aligns with the minimum wage increase requirements, but both these positions are the equivalent of branch heads for all election commission operations and should be treated as such with how they're compensated. The next request I'm making is to increase the number of paid weeks for the supervisor and assistant supervisor to make sure they're properly compensated throughout the entirety of the term. This increase is supported by Statute 606.1B, which describes supervisor and assistant supervisor term length, Statute 606.1E, which states that the appointment process for commissioners must be completed by the end of summer A, Statute 601.2L, which states that the supervisor elections is required to hold an orientation for all commissioners within 10 academic days of their Senate confirmations, and Statute 1202.3A, which states that the Student Government Executive Committee must meet monthly, a committee in which a supervisor and supervisor are required to be a part of. This increase would decrease the discrepancies between the number of hours these positions are actually working throughout the term versus what they're compensated for, ensuring that they're properly paid for their work. Next slide. My last request is to add the $1,200 non-recurring expense from this year's budget to the recurring operations budget. This addition to the $6,250 we received this year helped us immensely. It gave us the ability to easily invest in our professionalism efforts, one of them being a branded tablecloth, something the commission has never had despite the amount of tabling we're required to do. Additionally, we were able to expand our marketing efforts to our auxiliary campuses and reach students there. And lastly, we were able to fully fund the presidential debate and candidate exposition without assistance from the executive branch, who has assisted us with this in the past. I would like for the Election Commission to continue having a sufficient operations budget, which I believe this addition will help us accomplish. I thank the committee for listening to me today. I'm willing to answer all questions and provide clarification for any of the points I made.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now move into our discussion for the Election Commission. Hamid, start there.
Can I direct a question to Wanjan?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. This is about a point you brought up earlier, where you said that the Election Commission requested that the supervisor go up to $17 an hour, but here it says 16. Where did you see 17?
Because they requested 16, and then it has the additional $1 increase to OPS in the wish list, which is why I mentioned that it was a wish list item earlier.
Oh, I thought that their wish list item was to go up to 16.
That was, to clarify, that was the 15 and 16. That was my bad.
All right.
To clarify that. Sorry if that was any confusion, but yeah, I'm requesting $15 with the additional week increase, 15, 16.
All right, any other discussion points? Smilla?
I'm a little confused now. So in the PowerPoint, you said that you wanted a dollar increase for both positions, which would put you at, yeah, up there, which would put you at the 16 and 17 mark. And then you also said that you wanted an increase in weeks. So which one is it then?
It's the increase in weeks. I said that is
Okay.
my fault. That's my confusion.
Okay.
Just because I did increase because originally what our current stands at is 14 to 15. So I added that in there to make sure the dollar increase is added with the minimum wage requirement. But yeah, I'm just asking for the weeks to be increased because the minimum wage requirement should automatically be added just because it's up to 15 now.
Sorry, follow up. With that then, why is there, this is more a question for you. Why is there not a reduction on the Excel?
That's a good question. Did you, so last year, these well, like this current year, supervisors at 15 and assistants at 14? Gotcha. Just on the budget packet, like the hourly increase column needs the, like how much it went up by from the previous year. So I'm just gonna go in and edit that. Okay, so that puts your OPS at $6,625 now.
Yeah, that's what the OPS, it was a little lower because of the variance. So I wasn't able to fully request what I wanted to do with the minimum wage increase.
Gotcha. Okay, so the OPS on the budget packet is correct now for what is on there. Courts, then Wanjin.
Okay, so now that we've made that change, their variance says negative 0.4%. Okay.
Yes, we can. Are you saying like we can add their operations like back to it? Let me see how much. Not the whole thing. So we can potentially add some operations, some of your operations budget back with the. Now that there's slightly less OPS, I will say just because of like how small, like the amount that we'd be able to add to it, like right now, rather than like as a total wish list item, it might just be easier to add it as like a total item later. So I would probably recommend that to the committee.
We'll just do it then.
Really quickly, is there a motion to amend budget line 116 to $6,625? Okay. Wanjin?
So you're asking for the $1,200 that you had in recurring funds, or in non-recurring funds last year, but you also had to decrease your operations by $550 to meet the 1%, I believe. Were you trying to get both the $550 back and the $1,200, or just the $1,200 because all you asked for was the $1,200?
Yeah, so in order to get the variance, I had to decrease the operations, unfortunately. So what I would like to do is to take our current operations this year, which is $6,250, and then add the additional $1,200 on top of that.
All right. Any other comments? I guess I just explained that the way we've been doing our recurring wish list conversation is we kind of saved it all for the end. So we're going to talk about it like now as a committee, and then once we're done, like you are the final entity, but now that we're done seeing everyone, then we're going to have that discussion. So, Wanjin?
Move to conclude this entity then?
Is there a motion to finish this entity? Any objections? Seeing none, thank you very much. If you want to take a seat in the back, you totally can. All right. We have $17,091 left in the recurring pot, and we still have EC's 3 things and judicial's OPS to talk about. So, Wanjin, Hamid.
Move to increase the election commission operations by $1,750.
All right. Is there a motion to increase EC's operations by $1,200? Are there any objections?
I said $1,750.
Oh, sorry. What? $1,750? Oh, so we're putting the $550 on it too. Okay. Is there a motion to increase EC's operations by $1,750? Are there any objections? Seeing none. Hamid?
Okay, so we kind of talked about this earlier, but I want to talk about, because I know the supervisor talked about going up to $16, but I know that we kind of talked earlier about putting the Senate President, Chief Justice, and the supervisor at $16.50. How do we as the committee feel?
Smilla?
I did not add the supervisor in that conversation at all. It was the Senate President and the Chief Justice. So if that's something that you want, I don't necessarily agree, but if that's a conversation you wanted to have, you can.
Hamid?
That was back when we thought, well, under my assumption that they wanted $17 for her. So I was very neutral to this moment. Okay. I will move on to another point then.
Okay.
I want to talk about the OPS pay for election commission, the supervisor and assistant supervisor to add more weeks. Because I know statutorily, they did just talk about how they are statutorily required to do a lot of stuff in the summer and how they have to be here during the summer and work a lot. So any other thoughts about that before I make the motion?
Smilla?
Statutorily, they've always had to do a lot during the summer. So their hours have always been the same, to my knowledge. Also, I mean, last year, they only used about 50% of their OPS. And we gave them an increase last year as well. So that increase didn't really go to any use.
Can I ask you a question to Comptroller Drinkwater? Do you know what EC's current OPS usage is as of now? Smilla?
Before we answer that, I guess the OPS right now won't really give you anything because it's fall and they do everything during summer. I mean, during spring. So
you're on something. Court.
I just wanted to, because whether we add the OPS or not, I'm really neutral to, but I will say that on the slide number 9, talking about the hours documented and how they were paid for, we do also have to remember that the 56th session made a lot of changes to EC, and a lot of those changes were implemented this year. So a lot of the work that the supervisor and assistant supervisor have been doing have been restructuring. So that would be making the new committees and making sure that those committees run the way that they're supposed to. So I don't really know how much the future supervisors and assistant supervisors would need, because a lot of the restructuring has happened this year and they'll just be able to reap from the benefits of this year. So I don't know if it would really change anything.
All right.
Or if the increase is needed. That's what I meant to say.
Any other points to either EC or judicial? Launches.
I don't know why I never turned my mic off. I'm sorry. I just realized it's been on. On the judicial branch side of things, I guess half of their committees they have their experience committee, their marketing committee, and their outreach committee that I'm like, I understand wanting the chairs to be paid, but the people in our other branches who are paid to do that are like, it's their one position, not a whole committee who should be spreading the work around. So I'm a little confused. And those were also the committees that were working a lot. Like I understood precedent and internal rules, but I think precedent had 2.25 hours. So now I'm not really sure why we need to pay the chairs at all if the ones that are actually doing judicial branch work aren't the ones doing the most work.
Courts and Smilla.
Okay, I would also like to start this by saying I do believe that people should get paid for the work that they do, but I also want to have us all remember that these are student funds, and I'm a little bit hesitant specifically for the experience committee because that doesn't have any impact on the student body at all. Like if we look at the positions that are currently paid, even taking into account the LJR committee, which is a very internal committee, the rules that we pass or the bills that we pass still have an impact on students. So I'm a little bit hesitant with that one, but I would like to hear everyone's discussion.
Can I direct a question to the Chief Justice?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, in regards to your marketing committee, I know that they do a lot of work. I guess my question is, how come a lot of that work isn't necessarily given to the executive branch, considering they have people in place to kind of help like network?
Are you able to just come to a seat with the microphone? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. So with this year specifically, because that is, that committee was started last year, there was that discussion to outsource. And I believe we had a huge communication with, the communications division within the executive branch. And they really appreciated that we could take a lot of that in-house work off of their plate. We also, by doing that, so in judicial, we again took that off their plate, and we were able to approve all of that in-house and just send it to the division of comms, as well as the director of comms did serve as an ex officio member of that committee. So they were also able to help us work on all of that in-house, so that it could be easier approved as well as just made within house. Decided.
Lucian.
May I ask a question to the Chief Justice?
Yes.
Were you able to figure out what the time was used for creating agendas for the 5 hours a week? Were you able to talk to the chair of the JAM committee for that? Because I think someone earlier mentioned it.
Apologies, I was not able to, but I can definitely reach out right now. Let me.
Your corner.
Yeah, I have a question for Chair Kaufman. How much is left if we approve everything that's on here right now?
I did the math. It's about negative $250 if we do all of EC and all of judicial.
Okay, so then my next question is, if we don't approve all this, where's the money going to go? Because there's really we don't have anywhere else we're allocating it to, so we're just sitting here and probably wasting more money in people's OPS than just making a decision. So I think where's this money going to go to if we don't allocate it towards EC or add it to judicial?
That is what the committee would have to figure out. So, Wanjin.
I definitely would not advocate for, let's just approve it, because where else are we going to put the money? Because there is always student programming that is in need of money. I know CAB, late nights, our event organizations would love to have more money. ABP could use another $5,000 and run a whole nother trip. Not advocating for that one, because I think programming is the way to go if we have extra money. But we should not just be like, oh, well, we don't have somewhere else to put it, so let's go here.
Yeah, I was just saying, if I wanted to know if there were other places that we wanted it to go. That was just kind of my question. No, I wasn't just saying just approve all of it, but that was my
Hamid.
We're going kind of into a weird tangent, but I know there was another programming board that also does concerts, and I know we approved $30,000 for CAB for their concerts. So with the same logic, I don't know which one it is. Homecoming? Okay, because I was thinking, is Homecoming still here? Oh no. Okay, does anyone know her? Because I would assume that if they needed $30,000 for their concert, that probably Homecoming would also need more money for their concert.
I mean, can we refer to Shane really quick to comment?
Instead of adding more money, one of the challenges that Homecoming has is that they a lot of times don't hit their revenue line.
Mm-hmm.
So I would make a recommended, and if they don't hit their revenue line, they don't have anywhere to cut it from in the future. I would make a recommendation is that you might want to cut their revenue line, which would in essence be adding more money to them, so it doesn't have to get taken away. So I would cut their revenue line from 30,000 down to 20,000.
Any thoughts on that? Any motions you want to make based off of what Shane just said? Courts.
Motion to cut Homecoming's revenue line from 30,000 to 20,000.
All right. Is there a motion to cut Homecoming's revenue line from 30,000 to 20,000? Are there any objections? All right. Do you withdraw?
Do we know for a fact that it's 20,000 is kind of an average of what they are, or is that a realistic number of their revenue?
So revenue is an interesting target in regards to what the right number is going to be, because sometimes we get an artist that all of a sudden has a lot more appeal to the general public to come to and not. I will tell you that this year they did not even hit that $20,000 in revenue, but I think it would be irresponsible to cut it completely out. So last year their revenue was, or their revenue this year was 13,000 is what they brought in revenue this year. So they are 15,000 short.
Benitez.
Let's also take into consideration that this year the artist that they announced at the reveal was dropped out a week before homecoming started, so then they had to get that artist, the second one, last minute. And unfortunately, this is something that did happen last year as well with the comedian. So like how we mentioned it with Cab with their production and the artists, that won't appeal to the artists. If we're not appealing it to the UCF students with that funding, it will ideally become more of a trend that we can't get those artists to come here. And then unfortunately, like I love homecoming, especially as like court and everything. So like my guess would be just advocating more towards that concert line that we mentioned earlier, just so none of this would start becoming a trend, because it has happened the past 2 years. So.
All right. We now have a lot of information. Watch it.
Move to cut homecoming's revenue to $20,000.
There's been a motion to cut homecoming's revenue to $20,000. Are there any objections? Seeing none. That has now been done. There is now $5,341 left to allocate for our recurring budget. Samila.
Okay, so within judicial, I know we talked about two of the committees being some that we might actually recommend being paid for. So what do we think about instead of doing all five, we just fund the two, since we have a little bit left?
May I direct a question to the Chief Justice?
Yes.
Would you be comfortable if we chose that we are only willing to fund two of the positions, for us to only fund the president and the IRC committee?
Yes.
How many weeks out of the year would that be? Did you have a?
On my request, it was 31. I did want to ask the committee to reconsider if it's only two committees to go to 32 instead of 31 weeks, to be able to ensure both semesters get covered, that being fall and spring.
That would fall in our amount. We could be able to fund that. That is $4,896 extra dollars.
Can you make sure to put in one for the hourly increase, because it should just stay minimum wage, so start at 14 in July.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's no reduction there, but wait, why is there no reduction? Oh, because I deleted it. There we go. Okay, $4,814. And this is for which two committees? President and IRC? Okay, now we'll fix the rest of that. Okay. Is there a motion to increase judicial's OPS by $4,814? All right. We have $527 left to allocate. So, who's got ideas? Blanca.
What did we cover from EC again?
We covered their operations, but not their OPS.
Okay.
Sure.
I know they didn't request it, but also homecoming dropped like 700 from OPS or from operations and didn't reflect that in their recurring wish list. I mean, if they don't want it, then we probably don't have to do it. But I just want to know that.
Courts, did you still have something? Hamid.
Could someone call the representative from homecoming and ask them about that to see if they would want that money back?
Wanja.
just gonna note, we basically gave them another 10K already, so I think we're okay. Okay, I'm gonna step back.
Watch.
I just wanted to ask, not necessarily advocating for this, do we want to add fewer weeks to EC since that's the only thing we have left, or look somewhere else?
I was gonna say yes to do that. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
To adding weeks. Smell.
Can I direct a question to the EC
Yes.
supervisor? Sorry. So since we do have a little bit left, right now, currently as it stands, weeks per year for your position would be 25, and then for the assistant would be 20. Would you like to try to even those out, or would you like to give more to the supervisor?
Realistically, just based on statutory requirements, it should go to the supervisor just because there's things they have to do after the election. And from my understanding, this position is not paid throughout the entirety of the fall and spring currently. So I would like to allocate some of those hours to the supervisor and then see if there's like an even-ish split, because I know the assistant supervisor doesn't have as many, but just given the requirements between the two, I think it's fair for the supervisor to take on more of those weeks just because there's things they have to do after the election as well.
Put it at 27. It's under. 28 is over. Weeks. So at least.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, like, isn't it just like 3 extra weeks that we could fund with $500?
If I go from 25 to 28, it puts it at about $51 over what we have.
2 weeks.
Huh?
So 2 weeks then?
So if I do 2 weeks, and at 27 we are $42 under, and we would just smell.
If you added a week to the
Assistant.
yeah, it should even out.
Let's see. Okay.
Just because it's $1 less.
Yeah. If I add one more week so supervisor up to 27 weeks, assistant supervisor up to 21 weeks, that puts us at 7,101, which is still $41 under.
Wait, did that only add $1?
Yeah. So we have 40. We would have $41 left. Wanted.
Move to make that amendment to 27 weeks.
There's been a
and
motion
21
to
weeks.
increase EC's OPS to $7,101. All right, we have $51 to courts. Courts.
I had the thought first. We could put the $51 into the caucuses under exec. That one.
Luce?
This is only going to benefit the 2 people that are sitting right there, but maybe name tags aren't they like $10 a piece?
No, don't worry about that.
So
We got plenty of operations.
Is anyone opposed to giving the caucuses $51 more? So, I gotta find that budget line real quick. Okay.
Okay, motion to move the excess to line 130.
There's a motion to increase caucus budget by $51. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we have allocated all of our recurring. All right. So before we vote on the way it stands, I would really just encourage you to take like a little bit of reading. We're going to take like a brief reading time just to look over the entire budget, just to make sure we have everything. Smell.
Would we like to recess to review, or
I'm going to motion for a 5-minute reading time. Are there any objections? All right. Seeing none, we'll come back at 3:02. Like, yeah.
I had a problem on MSC. I want you to know I fixed it. MSC is good. It was
Oh,
because
was it wrong on the?
so no, it was all right on here. My list of amendments I for some reason thought that programming was in operation.
Oh.
So I added 3,000, then another 1,000. I was like, I thought somebody missed the $1,000 update, and that was not the case because programming is different, and so it's. But I was actually I was starring all the ones that went and then crossing them out. I literally started crossed out. I was speaking full service like, oh, in this one we already did this, but it was not.
Bro was not locked in.
I was no, I think I was too locked in.
You were too locked in.
I heard multicultural $3,000 and I took the first one I saw.
302. There's 30 seconds left of the reading time period. All right, the reading time period is over. Are there any final changes before we vote? Samila.
I just had a question for election commission. The OPS line, it went from being higher to lower. But I thought we added weeks.
Can you explain what you mean from higher to lower?
So the 26-27 request was 6732, and then the A&SF committee approved 6625.
I have 7101.
Oh.
Any other thoughts? Final speak now, forever hold your peace kind of thing. All right. We are going to vote on the budget as it stands, and we're going to do a roll call vote, but
Motion to vote on the budget as it stands.
all right, there's been a motion to vote and a second. All right, we are going to do a roll call vote just because we don't have the voting system open, and so, yeah. All right. Chair Coffin? Vote yes. Vice Chair Sherman?
Yes.
President Blanco?
Yes.
Vice President Benitez?
Approved.
Senate President Quartz?
Yes.
Senate Pro Tempore Hamid?
Yes.
Comptroller Drinkwater?
Approved.
Chair Lucht?
Yes.
Chair Rose?
Yes.
Senator Jones?
Yes.
Senator Wanjin?
Yes.
Student at Large Samillo?
Affirm.
Student at Large Rooks?
Yes.
Vice Chair Mundry?
Approved.
Student at Large Aguilar Fuentes?
Approved.
And Rose not there. All right, vote count of 15 to 0 to 0. The budget is approved as it stands. All right. Member discussion. Is there anyone wishing to speak in member discussion before we leave? No. Courts.
Motion to adjourn pending final
There's
roll
a motion
call.
to adjourn pending final roll call. Are there any objections? Seeing none. Vice Chair Sherman,
Chair Kaufman.
you're gonna do President.
Well, okay. Same as initial -1.
All right. I adjourn this meeting at 3:04 p.m. Thank you all for your patience today. Great job, everyone. This has got to be a record in some way, I guess.